So today's notes, we are going to continue with factoring, but now we're going to factor what's called a trinomial. We've talked about trinomials before. Trinomial just means it has three terms. So tri means three. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some basic factoring trinomial problems. You will notice that all of these problems begin with an x squared or something squared. There's no number or coefficient in front of that x squared, which keeps it nice and simple. So looking at number 1a, we're given 10x squared plus, x squared plus 10x plus 21. And it says, what are we looking for? So what we're doing is we want two numbers that multiply to give us this last digit, which is 21. And we want two numbers that add to give us the middle term, which is 10. So you may or may not remember diamond problems back years ago. So I say a diamond problem, but I'm going to make mine look like an X. We're going to put the number that multiplies to get the two numbers on the top, which is 21, and then adding the 10 would be on the bottom. So this just kind of helped you think of what times what would give you 21, but add to give you 10. So if you think of your factors of 21, 3 and 7 would multiply to give us 21, but add to give us 10. So that's the two numbers we're looking for when we go to factor out our trinomial. So we're going to do the same thing we did with our difference of squares. We're going to have two parentheses. We're going to have an x in each one. And now we're going to do plus 3 from this number here and plus 7 from this number here. And they're pluses because they're positive numbers. They're not negative. If you wanted to check to make sure you're right, like we did with difference of squares, if you would multiply them back through, you would get x squared plus 7x plus 3x plus 21. And if we put our like terms together, you would get your x squared plus 10x plus 21, which is the same thing that we have to start with right here. So you can always check to make sure you're right when we go to do our factoring. So let's take a look at letter B. So we need two numbers. Again, we're looking here for that multiply to give us the last number and add to give us the middle number. So we need two numbers that multiply to give us positive 12, but now add to give us negative 7. So to help us think about that, I'm going to set up my diamond with 12 on the top and negative 7 on the bottom. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me 12 and add to negative 7. So you can think about your factors 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Of these combinations, if we use a negative 3 and a negative 4, that would multiply to give us positive 12 and add to give us negative 7. So when we go to write our factored answer, our two parentheses, we'll have our x, and then we'll do minus 3 because it's a negative, and minus 4 because that one's also a negative. And again, you could check your answer. And these parentheses could be flip-flopped. So you could do x minus 4 first and x minus 3 second. It does not matter. All right, letter C. Again, we are looking for the numbers that multiply to give us the 16 on the top and 8. So I'm going to set up my diamond. I need two numbers that multiply to give me 16, but add to give me 8. So I want to think of all of the factors that multiply to give me 16. And I come up with 4 and 4. So I have x and x to start my parentheses, and I have plus 4 plus 4. Now, because these are the same parenthesis, you could rewrite it as x plus 4 in parentheses squared. So that is the same answer. So either one is right. So you may see it written either way, and I will take either way. It does not matter. They're saying the same thing. So what I would like you to do is try the problems here, the 4 that say try some. We will check that tomorrow in class. So give those a try. And then we are going to take a look at the examples part 2. So same process. We're still working with x squared to start. So it's going to be the same process we did with the other problems. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us -12 and add to give us -1. So I have a -12 on top and a -1 on the bottom. And you don't have to do the diamond. It kind of helps me think. So I'm going to do 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So I need one of them to be negative because it needs to multiply to give me a negative. And I need them to add to give me a -1. So the only way that's going to happen is with a 4 and a 3. So I'm going to make my 4 be negative and my 3 be positive. That way they multiply to give me -12, but add to give me -1. So in my parentheses with my x's, I'm going to have -4 and +3. And again, you could check to make sure you're right by distributing them back through. Letter B. So again, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me -8, add to give me 7. So I'm setting that up. So I have 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. So 1 and 8 are the only possibilities to get 7. And one of them's got to be a negative. And since it's a +7, I'm going to make my 1 be the negative. So that would make 8 and -1 make -8 when they multiply, but add to give us 7. So I'll do x -1 and x plus 8. And again, your parentheses could be flip-flopped. All right, the last one we're looking at is letter C. So we need two numbers that multiply to give us -16, but add to give us -6. So again, I'm thinking of my different factors. I have 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Well, 8 and 2 would work. And one of them's got to be negative. And since they need to add up to be -6, I'm going to make my 8 be the -1. -8 and 2 make -16. -8 and 2 add up to give me -6. So I'll have x -8 and x plus 2. So that is it for the notes for today. So you have 8 problems that you're trying on your own. So you're going to go back to that previous page and you're going to try those 4. And you're going to do the 4 for here. So you're doing 8 of the try sum problems. And we will recap this tomorrow in class.